71. How can I encourage an underperforming and unhappy employee to leave the company when we haven't begun the progressive disciplinary process yet?
Even in a tight labor market, it becomes necessary from time to time to convince employees to leave your company. Why? Because employees who are experiencing performance and conduct problems will often stay on principle. In other words, they'll rationalize that they'll stay till they're good and ready to leave. No one's forcing me out of my job until I'm ready to go, especially not that boss of mine, goes the logic of the disenfranchised and victimized worker. Unfortunately, the results can be very problematic. It can mean workers' compensation stress claims or wrongful termination lawsuits for your company. Employees may go through months or years of feeling unappreciated and having their egos and self-esteem dragged through the mud. So your best solution may be to broker peace where one party can walk out of the working relationship with his dignity and respect intact. Meetings such as this require a third-party facilitator. First, if immediate supervisors who are part of the problematic interpersonal relationship with the disenfranchised employee attempt to talk the employee into leaving the job, their efforts may be perceived as insincere or self-serving at best. Second, whatever is shared with the employee in meetings like this may take on a different meaning 2 years down the road when the company is being sued for constructive discharge. Tell me more. A constructive discharge claim is similar to wrongful discharge. However, in the constructive discharge case, the employee leaves and is not terminated by the company. Still, a plaintiff attorney will argue that the conditions were so egregious at work that any reasonable person would have left under similar circumstances. Consequently, the plaintiff attorney will argue, my client was forced into leaving her position, and the company had no right to create such an unfriendly environment. I mean, come on, Your Honor, her supervisor told her that she wasn't wanted there anymore and had no future with the company. Telling her that after a year of isolating her from the rest of the team, denying her a raise, withholding training, and holding her to a higher standard than everyone else was just too much. She had to quit, but it's their fault. To avoid creating a record that could be construed as a manager giving an employee no choice but to resign, the immediate supervisor can be the deliverer of this message. Instead, a neutral third party must be used. Human resources or a member of your company's senior management team is the typical mediator in such cases. We all know that, when it comes to job performance problems, both sides are often in total disagreement about the situation. Managers argue that the problematic employee is disrespectful and non-communicative and does not hold herself accountable for her own actions. The disenfranchised employee will argue that her boss holds her to a higher standard than everyone else, that she is never in the communication loop, and that she is never told when she does something right, only when she does something wrong. Who is right and who is wrong in these situations? Unfortunately, both sides are at fault. In essence, if the working relationship has deteriorated to this point, both the manager and worker have failed. Sometimes, however, trying to fix these problems just becomes an ongoing battle of wills where little good results. When the problem stems from something more basic than workplace performance issues, when the two people just can't seem to get along because of personal style differences or genuine dislike, transferring the employee may make sense. Even then, other jobs may not be available or the employee may have such a poor reputation that no other manager would hire that individual. It's then time for the facilitator, broker, again, senior management or human resources, to attempt to gently inject respect, dignity, and professionalism back into the relationship by allowing an easy-out exit strategy. First, acknowledge the efforts to make things work out and that it hasn't been a love match. Ask the employee whether she is frustrated and agrees the situation isn't ideal. At this point, try to put the events in perspective. There's enough work around here to tire the most energetic of people. When you add the interpersonal friction that you've both been experiencing for the past year or so, it becomes very difficult. I don't want to minimize the importance of your working relationship together, but if you think about it, it's only work. I mean, when you think about families who lose their health or parents who have to see their children through serious illnesses, that's important in life. If we're not suffering from that kind of illness, we're lucky. So let's keep that in perspective as we look at this workplace issue, okay?